Hello everyone and welcome to our live session dedicated to the Internet of Things. My name is Laura Serafinceanu and I will be your host today. A few words about me. I'm a marketing professional within the PTC academic program. Over the past 2 years, we are promoting the Internet of Things through different initiatives. Before we start, I have some technical remarks on the webinar. You joined as an attendee in listen-only mode. You can interact with us and provide feedback using the two tabs, chat and question and answer. Please address all the questions to me, and we will try to answer you before we wrap up the session. A recorded version of this webinar will be available to you by the end of this week. Now, back to our initiatives, I would like to give you a short overview about our newest initiative called Internet of Things University. At the end of May, we launched the world's first online learning platform for the Internet of Things and augmented reality. You may register on IoTU.com and benefit of free online IoT courses. It is a huge opportunity for you to learn about this new exciting environment and become an IoT expert. Our purpose is to promote this great platform, and it will be amazing if you may share this link with your network and provide us with your feedback. We think there is always a place for improvements. Moving forward, I would like to introduce my guest. Aida Buchris is the Research Associate of Information Systems at the University Friedrich Alexander Erlangen-Nuremberg in Germany. I met her when we started to develop a case study about an initiative she was running back in 2015 called Bavarian Entrepreneurship Academy of Internet of Things. She was responsible of the organization of this startup summer school on Internet of Things. Since then, she focused her research interest on this topic. In the next 15 minutes or so, I will discuss with Aida about the IoT skills gap and how industry and academia work together to address this major issue. Hello, Aida. And thank you for accepting our invitation. We saw that many organizations are looking to deploy IoT projects, but what are the key barriers in adopting IoT?
So first of all, I would like to show you something just to see how the potential of IoT. So for example, in 2011, there were 12 million RFID tags that were sold. And just for information, so RFID tags means radio frequency identification tags, and they enable the identification of various objects. So it's a tag that you stick on an object and then you can identify it and trace it. So these 12 million, by 2021, it is estimated that it will increase to 209 billion as the Internet of Things takes off. So this is just to show how much we are caring more and more about identifying our objects and the devices that are around us in order to be able to interact with them over the internet or different networking protocols. So this is really huge. But at the same time, by having so many devices connected, we'll have a lot of noise. And the whole point or the whole purpose of the IoT is very much capturing all the data and making sense out of it. So it's not just about connecting devices to the internet, but also being able to design services out of this, out of the data that's going to be generated. So once we connect all these devices, we'll for sure have a lot of noise over the internet or over the different networks. But from this noise, we need to be able to identify which data is useful, which data is valuable. Once we have this data, and especially it's going to be big data, then we can start to identify, for example, patterns, start to see repeating behaviors. So, for example, I just give a very concrete example. Suppose we are connecting a machine that is producing, say, 1,000 pieces a day. Then I'm going to observe, for example, I'm going to monitor this machine by monitoring, for example, the consumed current or power, by monitoring maybe some strength of pulse sensors, for example, or vibration sensors. And over time, I will start to see patterns of vibration, for example. And I know, for example, once I see a repeating pattern, I know that there's a piece in that machine that breaks. And over time, instead of just waiting for the machine to break and replacing that piece, I will be able to predict that fault to happen. And then I could avoid, for example, all the downtime that would be related to that default by replacing the piece before it even breaks. And here we talk about information. So from data that's going to be surrounding us all over, we can start to find information, valuable information. And from there, it becomes a very valuable knowledge for the company. So the companies definitely have currently the struggle of finding the right talent to be able to connect their devices and, of course, then capture the data and analyze the data to design services. So we have definitely skills and talents, say, challenge or shortage. But at the same time, for some companies, it's still not visible. It's not still clear how IoT as a technology or big data can really help them or solve their problems. So I would say it's definitely a problem of awareness coupled with talents or skills shortage, and of course then the cost. So of course this new technology, these new implementations come at a certain cost. And then the only motivator would be the return on investment. So it has to be clear how much a company would make after implementing the technology. So I would say these are essentially the challenges, so to say. Okay. At the same time, I think comes the privacy issue. So since now all our data will be publicly available on the internet, then how about privacy? So this is definitely a question being held under the spotlight. But I guess the industry, the alliances, the different groups, the agencies are definitely working towards, for example, this privacy issue. And in the case of the companies, then of course, then they need a better organization, a better planning in order to integrate the Internet of Things.
Okay. And how does the industry collaborate with the educational institution to overcome this talent shortage, in your opinion?
So interestingly, there are definitely interesting collaboration and creative forms as well of collaboration. So now, for example, we see companies offering challenges for universities. In our case here in Bavaria, for example, we have Accenture that publishes a campus challenge where students need to get in teams, so I think minimum 3 people per team, and devise creative solutions in order to solve a certain problem. So companies are definitely adopting this learning by doing approach and this very pragmatic way of learning. So it's not learning through lectures or seminars, but very much by letting the students develop and create new solutions. So challenges is one of them, for example. And what happens is that, for example, the company even provides the mentors that are going to supervise and advise the students or the participants. And there's the other form of new collaboration, which are the hackathons. So hackathons, for those who are not familiar with the term, it's usually a short-term event. So usually it ranks between 2, maybe 3 days, very intensive, where the companies offer some problems to the students or to the participants, and the participants in team have to find new business solutions and build prototypes. So it's not prototype in the meaning that this is how it's going to look like on the market, but very much prototype to demonstrate the business opportunity. And for this, the students get together, so they work in team, they work and they build on each other's skills and knowledge in order to create this new solution. And most of the times, the company would provide the technology necessary for the students to perform and create their solution. So for us, for example, here in Nuremberg, I give again an example. We have an incubator for startups, and this incubator works a lot in collaboration with the university. And lately, it hosted a hackathon where different companies, local companies, were participating. Like, for example, I can give examples. Like Schaeffler, for example, which is a major manufacturing industrial here in Nuremberg, and many others. We also had a Nürnberger Versicherung, which is an insurance here in Nuremberg. And yeah, so these companies came whether with data, for example, or with technology, and they asked the students to devise new business solutions around them. And then, of course, at the end, the students either win sometimes prizes, or they can even win an incubation where they can totally boost and develop their startups, which is really a great opportunity, I think, for students.
Okay. And what are these companies looking for? What skills do you need for an engineer to succeed in this field?
Yeah, so skills, I think they range between, so to say, knowledge skills or expertise, and at the same time, what we refer to as soft skills. But these soft skills are more than ever a necessity. So in terms of soft skills, definitely we need creativity. We need people who can think of new solutions of things that don't exist yet, people who are able to connect dots. So it's not only because I'm an electrical engineer, then I should only know about microcontrollers and resistors. I should be able to open up my mind to maybe new technologies such as virtual reality, augmented reality, maybe also connect it with different fields such as agriculture or energy. So you really have to have this broad scope where you can think of different problems and different solutions that can have a value on the market. So definitely creativity. The second one, the capacity to work in teams and collaborate, because the Internet of Things is, so it's multi-skills. So I cannot say, for example, in terms of engineering, this is this particular expertise that you need to have. You need to be expert in something, that is for sure. But it's up to the student or up to the person. In terms of expertise for the Internet of Things, it starts from the hardware that is necessary, of course, to connect the different devices. And for that, of course, it would be good to know about circuit design, about microcontrollers programming, but also you should be maybe another expertise that is necessary, which is networking expertise. So how to make these different devices work together and send data over the internet. And then you should be able also to collect the data and analyze the data. So here we talk about data modeling, data analytics, but also very much importantly, security engineering and security infrastructure. You should be also able to build code, build software. And for that, you should have definitely a coding language which you absolutely master. And then of course comes all the aspect of usability. So you should be able to design user interfaces and account for user experience. So also design a good user experience. You cannot, for example, turn on a light from your mobile phone and wait for the light bulb for 10 seconds to turn on. It makes no sense. Then you would just go to the switch and turn it on yourself. So here comes all this these details related to the experience of the IoT service, which is very important. Yeah, so definitely. So collaboration. So only one person cannot know all these things. It is impossible. It can be possible maybe with time, with expertise, with experience. But let's say for a first level engineer, it is hard to know all these things. So you should be able to know at least something and be good at it, and be able to collaborate with others and work together. I think this is really, really important.
Yeah. Yes, I think IoT is opening a new market for the current students and also the future students, for the
Yes,
high school students. So good opportunities for them.
absolutely.
Okay. And now I would like to talk a bit about the Bavarian Entrepreneurship IoT Academy, the initiative you worked on. And can you share with us what is the vision behind the academy?
Yeah. So the vision behind the academy was that there's this new technology coming up, and we need new ways to teach our students about it. So it's not going to be teaching by looking to slides and PowerPoint. It's going to be teaching by letting them create something. So learning by projects. And the components that we have brought together then was teamwork, learning by doing, and also increasing the stakes. I'll be more specific on this. So teamwork means that we had different students participating without necessarily knowing each other and from different fields. So we had business students, we had engineers, we had software developers, so all designers. So all these people, they came together and they had to make teams that are heterogeneous, and they had to build on each other's skills. So, for example, we could not have a team of just engineers or a team of just business students. We had teams of every time maybe an engineer, a business student, and a designer or a software developer. That was a necessity. And then they had to work together. So it was not easy because in the beginning, not everyone speaks the same language. Not everyone is necessarily acquainted with the same concepts. But with time, as the academy progressed, they were at the end were able to build some consensus and work together on their business idea in order to win. And then learning by doing, because we did have some lectures, but they were very, let's say, short, so maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes lecture, and we invited experts to talk about. So we did not have really professors or teachers, but it was maybe startuppers or people from the industry who came to teach the students. And then, so we had very short seminars or very short lectures, and most of the time they were building and working on their own projects. So they had to identify business ideas and develop them until the end. And for that, they had 2 weeks from zero until having a working prototype. And then we increased the stakes, so we needed to make them really care about this academy and about the Internet of Things. And for that, we designed a whole infrastructure where the best teams, the 3 best teams, would pitch their ideas to investors and eventually get funded if they have a convincing case for a startup. Okay. So that's how we did it, and we hope to continue doing it the same way as well.
Okay. And in the case study, you mentioned about that initiative, which is called Horizon 2020. What is this initiative?
Yeah, so Horizon 2020 is so it's also called the Framework Program for Research and Innovation. And it is a European program for encouraging innovative projects and boosting research and innovation within European countries. And for that, the European Union has provided an estimated funding of 80 billion euros. And this funding would cover or would fund projects between 2014 and 2020. And this framework also supports the open access to research results. So every research project that has been funded by Horizon 2020 should be able or should publish some open data that is accessible for everyone.
Okay. And what are the most exciting IoT projects developed by the students during this summer school?
So I can tell you, for example, the 3 winning projects. So the first one was about a wearable. So they start from the idea that wearables currently are either too expensive, like the case of the Apple Watch, or they are too restrictive. They don't allow for too much, like the case of the Fitbit. So they thought, what if we could design some wearable device that the user can customize at its will. So for example, today I want to go for a running. I would have a set of sensors or modules that I assemble together on my bracelet, and then I go for my running session, and then they will capture, for example, information about my humidity, about my heartbeat, and about my temperature. Suppose, for example, I want to go out with my friends. I would have this kind of party set as well that would include, for example, a alcohol detector. And I could, for example, breathe on my wearable, and it would tell me if I'm able to drive or not, for example. So they came up with these interesting sets and combinations of sensors and what can be done with data in order to have valuable information. And it was really interesting. And these were among the winning ones. Another idea that came was about how to provide a hands-free experience with the action cameras. So, for example, with a GoPro, instead of every time clicking on and off for the camera to record, or letting it record for a long time and then spending many hours on the editing, what if the GoPro could turn on itself whenever there's an interesting pattern of movement happening? And they have been working on that as well. So I would say these were really interesting ideas that we had. Another interesting one was about having a virtual road rope. So, for example, they said that girls, for the average age between 15 and 20 years old, they have about 150 pieces of clothing in their wardrobe. And they either forget about it or it takes them ages in order to make up their outfit to go out. Then they had this idea where they have an app that collects all the clothes that these ladies or these girls have and allow them to make combinations on their smartphone. And they could also allow them to network and send these different outfits within a community of friends where they could collect feedback about it. And so it could connect them with their favorite clothes store, for getting, for example, offers or better recommendations of new styling, etc., etc. So yeah, so there were different interesting ideas, some having to do there, for example, with retail industry, some having to do with the entertainment industry, some having to do with the manufacturing even. So it was very mixed, I would say, mixed set of ideas, but all of them really interesting.
Yeah. And what technology did they use to build on this?
Yeah, so they used a lot of open source technology, whether in open source hardware or open source software. So they used a lot, for example, Arduinos and Raspberry Pis. Then they use, of course, sensors in order to create their prototypes. In the case of the smart modular bracelet, they had to use, for example, a temperature sensor. They had to use a heartbeat sensor. They had to use a humidity sensor. And in all those, of course, then they had to do the required soldering. So they had to do some circuit design and really assemble the electronics together. As a controller, mostly they have used the Arduinos or the Raspberry Pis, as I was saying. Now, in terms of software, so for example, they used the ThingWorx platform as accounts were provided for the students. But they also used some fast prototyping tools, and those who had really skills or had knowledge about programming apps, they did the whole interface on their own, and all the networking, they did it on their own as well. So depending on the students, if they had, for example, low knowledge about IoT or about development, they would go directly to ready-made solutions and just configure and modify and then quickly connect over the internet. If they were more comfortable into designing their own web applications, then they would maybe build their own web app. So it was different. It depended on the students. But in our case, as organizers, we offered a large panel of possible toolkit of possible tools that they can use, whether in terms of hardware or in terms of software.
Okay. For those of you who don't know what ThingWorx is the only enterprise-ready technology platform which enables you to rapidly develop and deploy smart connected solutions for the Internet of Things. This platform is provided by PTC. So yeah, and Aida, can you tell us, give us an insight, what are the projects you are currently working on right now?
Yeah. So currently, I'm personally involved in a project called SmartIF, which is about building smart services for the industry out of industrial data. And it's all about improving the usability of cloud platforms. So now, okay, we have cloud platforms that can enable the connection on different machines or different devices, but how can we make it easier for the users or for the companies to create new services out of the data generated from these machines? So we are trying to put together a toolkit, or let's say building blocks, that the companies can use in order to create these new smart services.
Okay.
That's the project in which I am directly involved, and it's funded by the German Ministry for Research. And we have another project funded by the same ministry, which is about designing smart business models. So based on big data, how can we design quickly new business models? What tools do we need to provide for the companies in order to come up with new business ideas, and especially capture the value out of these ideas? So I would say these are the two interesting and IoT-related projects that in which I'm currently involved. Yes.
Very interesting. Okay, thank you, Aida, for sharing all this information with us. I think, I hope that everyone will be inspired, by this project. And now, before we wrap up, I would like to see if we have any questions. Yes, I see some questions. So let's take one. With regards to education, should IoT be left to hack maker groups, or does it have a place in mainstream education, middle and high schools? I can answer to this question. So IoT is for everyone, not just for university students. So the children can be involved in IoT starting with, let's say, high school, and also even with middle schools. Okay, and there are another two questions. Aida, if you can help me with this, what security issues does the panel believe the IoT will bring?
Sorry, again, can you repeat it? What security
issues, yes, does the panel believe the IoT will bring?
Security issues. I think there has been already some interesting cases of security problems. For example, in the US, there was a case where a Tesla was hacked and someone took control over the car. So such a thing you can imagine if you have a fleet, for example, of vehicles, or a fleet of trucks that you're managing or monitoring online, and this fleet gets hacked. Then it can create a huge catastrophe on the highway, for example. Another security issue had to do, for example, with again, cameras for monitoring babies that were hacked, and the hackers were able to observe inside the house of the owners and look at the kid or at the child remotely without any allowance from the parents. So this is also quite scary, actually. Another case was hacking as well of CCTV cameras, which flooded the network with terabytes of information and took the network down for some moment of time. So every time the hackers manage to get into devices and let them do behavior that they're not supposed to do. And this, of course, can generate every time different sorts of issues and also at different scales of gravity.
Okay. Okay. I think we still have some questions. Let's see. Okay. Okay. How does the panel IoT can or will affect the education?
Should I answer this one, Laura, or?
Yeah, I think we answer with this during the webinar, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So it's definitely about training students or training young people for a new skill set that they should be used to, and they should definitely have in order to be ready on the market.
Okay. Another question from Dr. Subra. What is the main obstacle facing the massive deployment of IoT in Europe?
The obstacle. So I would say infrastructure currently is maybe not necessarily available for that. And these are being developed whether in research projects or even in larger consortia. Then there's again this awareness from the SMEs about this new technology and also about the potential that it can bring. So not everyone is still aware of what to do with all the data that is available and what potential that has. So I would say definitely there's still an issue in terms of awareness, and at the same time trust in the technology. So far it's still very much into trials. So let's try for a certain maybe application for a certain service. We see how it works, and then we can deploy a larger scale. So far I think it's still at the prototyping level, and people are starting to try with the platforms, starting with the services, and it's just a matter of time before having this larger deployment. And again, also the structure or the human resource structure has to be adapted within the company to see how the departments are going to collaborate and work together on the new portfolios that might exist. So I would say so far it's still at a prototyping level, where companies are trying not only the technology but also trying to see how the management can cope with that, and then we would definitely see a larger scale initiatives happening.
Okay. Thank you so much, Aida. These are all the questions. I have no more questions. So to summarize, I think we can say that IoT skills gap mirrors that of the World Wide Web back in 1994. On that time, if you wanted to build a website, you couldn't hire anyone with that particular skill set, since it had never been done before. And I think we are in the same predicament with IoT, but this time it's bigger. So I hope you all enjoyed today's session. Don't forget to visit our new platform, IoT University, at IoTU.com. If you want to download the Bavarian Entrepreneurship IoT Academy case study, you will find it under resources on ThingWorx.com website. Once again, thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of the day.